The school's using it, aren't they?
School.
And,
Got two more new ones.
yes.
Schools
I
hammered
will
it in
do
2 more.
my
Okay.
roll call list and then I'll catch everyone else whose name I don't call. So if I say your name, you say here or not. Shelley Entrikin,
Here.
Barb Long, Doug Manning, Audra Miles.
Here.
Joe Coffin.
Here.
Craig Boynton.
Here.
Hannah Fuchs. David Peters. Mary Patton.
Here.
Shamra Robinson. Here. Tracy Dowell. Summer
Here.
J. Thomas Howes. Vivian Hageman. Max Schneider. Tyler Rogers. Troy Maxwell. Don Harper.
Here.
Jody Scott.
Here.
Angel Marinich.
Here.
Kylie Rathman.
Here.
Chris Mitchell. Connie Shealy.
Here.
Jim Bremner.
Here.
Greg Pass.
Here.
We need a quorum in person. If I could count everyone online, it would be good. We're one short, but it's okay. One day. We'll see if anybody else comes. All right, so I know we have some other folks, and you know what? Let's go around the table for anyone I didn't say. I just say your name and where you're from. So we'll start with Jerry.
My name is Jerry Larthick from Snyder Village, Metamora.
Heather Boucher from Best Buddies in Peoria.
Got everyone here. Okay, so online, I'm gonna read your name if your name is written out. So we've got Jessica Ortega from Ivy Sill, Melissa Orwell from IDOT, and remind me where you're from, Dawn. Oh, I see Dave has joined us.
Oh, Tom just unmuted.
Dawn, can you hear us? Remind us where you're from.
From Stonehenge, Center for Independent Living.
I'm just.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. We have Dawn Cook from Tazewell County Pecan. Is that right? Yes. Tracy Dowell, what's your name? Jody Bannon. Remember, write us where you're from, Jody.
I'm from SEPCO, Special Education for Peoria County.
All right, thank you. And then we've got Dave Meters and Shelley and a couple others whose names I called earlier. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm gonna make a quick note here. All right, so we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comment today? All right, no. So let's move on to the approval of the minutes. One day. One day we'll make it. We're so close. I do have some more appointees coming on. A bit of reshuffling on the committee, so we will have some different folks joining. So that's amazing. So does anyone have any comments about the minutes? All right. Think about it until next time. Okay. And the next one is the bylaw changes, which we can't approve, but I will note they are the same changes that I've sent before. Only difference is last time I had them in red. I didn't really read the red, so now it's very clear. And I did actually add one thing, and that's on the very last page. It just specifies normally that a quorum is over half, so simple majority. I added a line that says, in lieu of a lack of quorum for the majority, a quorum of either the urban or the rural subcommittee will suffice. Actually, let's see. We do have that today, and that's a rule that's allowable in the Open Meetings Act. So I don't know if anybody noticed several meetings ago, I added at the very top of the agenda, it says Human Service Transportation Plan / HSTP Rural / HSTP Urban Subcommittee. And that just means that if we don't have a quorum as a whole, we could just use a quorum for either one individually. And actually, we have that for urban. So is anyone against using that form for today? All right, so let's back up.
Good idea. Good idea.
That is a workaround that is still legal. All right, so in this case, yeah, I will have a motion to approve the minutes. So I'll take a motion and a second.
I moved.
I second.
All right, I heard several. I'm going to pick Greg and Mary. I'll write that down. All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Wow, we made it work. Okay, so moving back to the bylaw changes. Anyone have any comments about this? And just as a refresher, most of the new additions, new quote unquote, from the last meeting, just specifies that because of the Open Meetings Act, we do have to have an in-person forum. So this is not really, we would have to do this anyway. I'm just not meant to get in the bylaws. So if we have an in-person forum, then we acknowledge the online folks. And anyone can always join online. They just won't be part of the forum unless they have. So any other comments about the bylaws? All right, so I will take a motion and a second for the bylaws.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second.
Johnny Scott. All right. All right, also, all those in favor of approving the bylaw changes? Yeah.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the provider and agency. And I will say just a couple notes before we move on. We have a lot more people, which is wonderful. Yes. But just to make sure we get through everyone, let's do about maybe like a 3-minute gap. If we have a long update, I'll just kind of wait just to say let's move on. And if we want to talk more about it, then we can bring it back up in other. So it's a hot topic. We can talk. And if you can't see me waving my arm around, if you're on virtual, then I'll just say your name. And the last thing is for our virtual folks, before you give your report, just say your name and who you're representing. And let's just go around the room. You get to start us off.
Joe Coffin at KCCDD. We're finally pretty much fully staffed, and we finally got approval to dispose of 4 of our old IDOT vehicles that have been sitting around. So other than that, that's about it.
I saw those emails. That's great. Good job. All right.
Craig Morton, City of Galesburg. We hopefully will have our fixed route app up and running by the end of this week. We've had a couple hiccups with it, so hopefully Apple will play nice with us now and we'll be able to run that. We have been working with Jeff Waxman with IDOT to obtain a used Super Duty. So we think we have that in the works, which will be a 2008, which will be a nice addition for us for backing up our fixed route system for our Ugly Betties that we have that we're still trying to utilize. We too were able to get 2 of our old units disposed of in the past week, so that's a good thing. We're close to having a new transit shop foreman, and we're looking forward to the CVPs finally being announced.
Do you have anything to share?
What do you mean by like updates? Like,
Yeah, I guess if you have anything with your organization that you think the group might be interested in, you can say no, you don't have anything. Go ahead, Greg.
Greg Cassidy, TCRC/WeCare. We are not fully staffed, so we're continuing to look for drivers. Biggest thing we've got going on is we finally got occupancy of the new building we bought downtown, so our folks are starting to move in there, and it's far too quiet. So I'm looking forward to next week or so getting one of my classrooms down there. So.
Audra.
Audra Miles from Fulton County. I don't have any updates.
Heather Boucher from Best Buddies. I really don't have any updates.
Gabe, Tri-County.
How about Mary?
This affects all of us, not on transportation, but on your expenses. AARP is working to fight an Illinois Commerce Commission request by Ameren Peoples Gas up in northern Illinois and 2 other utilities. And they are asking for a big amount of increase for them to get, which means it's going to be passed down to you. So if you don't want to pay any more for your expenses, either your home or your business, I left my details at home, wouldn't you know? I would call the Illinois Commerce Commission, ask for the Springfield number because that's where the Ameren people are charged for it, and tell them that you can't afford to have any great increase. I'll try to get the information to Rima so that if you want to know more details on the exact amounts and everything, she can get them to you. Now, what this means is Ameren is asking for first right of refusal, which after a bunch of legal things, that simply means that they're the ones that determine how much they're going to be spending or spending to build and then asking you to pay for it. Otherwise, it would be Illinois Commerce Commission that would make that determination how much they can, that they would okay what the plans are. But it's going to affect your pocket either place, at work or home. So Springfield, Illinois Commerce Commission, and I'll get the details to you. But I had an emergency dental appointment this morning. I forgot everything. Sorry.
I can send them afterward just as easily.
Okay, yeah, I'll get it. Thanks.
Kylie Rathman from Express Employment Professionals. We are still seeking alternative, affordable solutions for getting people to work opportunities, job opportunities, especially getting home from a second shift, anything third shift. I've got a lot of qualified people that cannot do these positions due to transportation, lack of transportation. So if anybody could help with any of those alternative, affordable solutions for getting people to work, Greg, we have drivers. Just wanted to let you know that. Get a hold of me. All right. And that's it.
Welcome, Chris. How'd you go make it? Are you gonna call me?
I'm Jody Scott from Access, Advocates for Access, sorry. And I guess October 4th, Access Living made a road trip to our Center for Independent Living, and they're the Center for Independent Living up in Chicago. And Shamra and Angel were also part of the discussion on transportation as well. And the hot topics were pretty much couldn't get over the fact that paratransit in Chicago doesn't deploy bring-ups for people that use carts. when they go shopping. And so that was one thing that we were like, oh, wow. The other topics of conversation were managed care organizations and transportation to and from non-emergency medical appointments. And then I would say the other one is probably how the legalization of marijuana in Illinois has created problems with recruiting of drivers, because sometimes you get a driver and they can't pass the drug test, and because they're funded by federal transportation, because of that, the feds do not recognize the legalization of marijuana, and therefore they cannot drive. So those were probably the hot topics that came out of that discussion.
We are not fully staffed either, so that can get your information. We're looking for drivers also. Just with the staff shortage, and my issue is getting transportation to the smaller cities, like to Morton. I'm having an issue over there because of staff shortages and stuff like that, so I'm having a big issue. But we did get 3 individuals from Washington now, since you guys do run over in Washington, so that was a good plus. Kudos to Angel. She's gone above and beyond for Epic. With us being so short, she's taken upon herself to take some of our routes, so kudos to Angel for that, but just trying to get through the day with the staff shortages.
A couple things, we're rolling right along. Our ridership was down this last month, but I think it's probably reflective of a 5-week September month versus a 4-week October. So I think that's a big reason for it. It's down about 30%. But we're going to look at the rider names for the last couple months and see who missed, and maybe give a couple calls and make sure everything's okay. So that's good. We do have a couple more high school students that'll be riding. We're working on the applications right now. They'll probably be up and running within a week. So that brings us to we only have about 36 registered riders at this time. And we've been in the process now for about a year with the transportation. So we're always looking for ways to get the word out. And I think everybody knows that's really hard to do to the people that really need to ride. But we are working with Agency on Aging as well when they're overloaded with clients who are on multiple days of dialysis. We're working, City Lift has been kind enough to jump in and assist with that. So we're doing dual duties over there, and it's really good from that perspective. There was an event held in East Peoria at the Fond du Lac Park District Center 2 weeks ago called Taz Fest, and it was for people 65 and older to see what services were available in the primarily the Tri-County area, but it was mostly for Tazewell County residents. And it was really good. I had called City Lift, and they weren't able to be there, but they gave me all the literature that they had for stuff. And so I was there. I represented Washington Transit Opportunities, but there was a ton of questions. There was about 100 people that came through. It was really good. They hadn't had it since COVID. So this was something that's put on by the Sheriff's Department, Tazewell County Sheriff's Department. So that's really a good one. Some people had disabilities, but most of them were just of age, and a lot of questions about the routes that go through their communities and maybe why there's not in some of the smaller ones. So it was good to get out and talk to them, and we gave out a lot of applications to ride. So it was a good thing.
Hi. Do you have anything else?
I had one more. Sorry, I forgot. Trying to get the word out. We're trying to do a little more with social media. Obviously not everybody uses social media, but somebody might know somebody who's and sees the ad, if you will, for rides for the disability ridership. There's a new company in Washington called Hearts for Change. And they're working with people with disabilities. They have a website now, and they've had a couple of events where they've had dances for people with disabilities, and they've done that at the VFW Hall in Washington, and there's probably another one coming up this fall. But I connected with that person, Amy Gale is her name, And so she's agreed to put our information online for me for the Washington area and stuff. But the people that they cater to in their group are not all in Washington. They're from all over the area. So it was interesting there, and probably know more about that later.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shamra with CityLink, and I just got back actually from Florida from the APTA conference that was there, which is the American Public Transportation Association. It's the largest conference that they have every 3 years. So there was a lot of vendors there. So I had an opportunity to talk with Enterprise about van pools. So we'll probably have more discussions about that coming up, as well as talking with other vendors about fare collection, microtransit. There was a company that was based out of Miami, Florida, that just started microtransit, so that was very exciting. They use Teslas too, so I thought that was interesting. But they are trying to spread their market throughout the United States, so I'd like to talk with them a little bit more. And then also I talked with some exhibitors about the software for paratransit, so that we can start looking at upgrading that system. And then just working on the National Transit Database NTD reporting. We plan to have that turned in by October 31st, if not sooner. And then I will be taking actually a bus ride audit this afternoon. That's something that we're trying to do ongoing with management leadership staff at CityLink. And then we're going to be having an operator graduation that will be for fixed route this Friday. There'll be new four more operators that will be joining our team. So I believe at that point we're going to be pretty fully staffed actually with operators. So we're excited about that. I have a new complaint analyst that started. She actually started last week because I just didn't want to lose the opportunity of having her join CityLink because I was at a conference. So she started last week, but we brought her over to the transit center today. So we're excited to have her on board. Her hours are going to be starting next week of 8:30 to 12:30. So she will be our new complaint analyst. And I think that's pretty much everything that's going on right now in my world. So,
what kind of complaints is she going to take? Is she going to look at ADA complaints?
It'll be more fixed route, if anything, because
route.
Carla, she usually sends that the paratransit ones over to Angel and Lance.
So if they have an ADA complaint with fixed route, though, are they?
Yeah, she'll take that information for sure.
Dr. Shamro, what did you say her name is?
Her name is Sharice Little.
Okay, yep. Thank you. You're welcome. I just realized I never said your name.
Oh, that's all right. We have a new executive director at the Agency on Aging. She's been there since September 1st. So I'm sure we're going to be out and about and also some changes and whatnot, but it's kind of interesting to have someone new come in and, you know, kind of shake things up a little bit. So her name is Megan Mahoney. No, excuse me, Tessa Mahoney. I've got someone else's name in my so she was working with her, getting her double bachelor's for social work and her MBA at the same time. So yeah, she just finished that up in August. So.
Chris, you came in after we started this section, so do you have anything to share?
Well, I'm just glad to see everybody again. I'm Chris Mitchell. I've attended this meeting for a number of years, and now I'm a member of the committee. And I share this seat with Connie Shealy, who is probably there. So we're going to be learning how to manage that. And so thank you all for your contributions to transportation. I have been using several resources over the last few months, and one of them is CityLift, and they have done a very good job. I can tell that there are 2 new dispatch people, and they're consistently improving. And I've also had new drivers, as well as the seasoned drivers who continue to coach the new people. I'm so glad we have more fixed route supports, and I'm glad to hear about the graduation. So I'm learning as well how to figure out the timing because I find it's hard to get in and out of different chairs at different places. So while I walk this wheelchair, I use it to make sure I have a place to sit and listen to you good people. Thanks for the moment. Appreciate it.
Glad we could see you in person. All right, so I'm gonna move to our virtual people. And it looks like the first one on my list is Connie. You wanna give any updates to everyone?
Hi, I don't have any updates at this time because I have been blessed to have somebody who has been providing me with transportation. In the meantime, I may be using City Lift a little bit more in the near future, though. But I just wanted to say, Angel, what they said earlier, about that she's gone above and beyond. She is a blessing. She has went way out of her way to help me in the past, and I really truly appreciate it because it's frustrating, when you get done early at the doctor's and they can't come and pick you up, and then just with the driver shortage and everything she's having to deal with. And I just think that we're very grateful to have her, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Next one on my list is Jessica Ortega. Do you have anything you want to share with the group? Looks like you are muted, so we can't hear you. In the meantime, you can write in the comment box and I can read it out. Still not hearing you. So yeah, let's move on to Angel. You've gotten a lot of praise so far, so go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the kudos, but really it's all about my team here. Because of the shortage, we've all been doing double, triple, quadruple duty, between dispatching, driving, and everything else. So the only real update I have is, yes, we're still short. We're getting better. The labor market seems to be improving. We're getting more applicants through the door. I really want to thank Jody for inviting Shammer and I to Advocates for Access. It was very interesting talking to the folks from Chicago. Everything she said is 100% accurate. We have had 2 hiring events over the past, month and a half. Over 100 people signed up for this hiring event. Both times about 20 people showed up, and of those maybe 10 were actually offered, and of those maybe 4 or 5 passed the drug test and began training. So it's still a process, but we're going to keep on plugging away until we get where we need to be. As of right now, we are short. We're short about 4 full routes that I know that we need to cover. That doesn't include, people calling off sick and whatnot. So we're still working on that. We have 1 person who should graduate, I believe, on Wednesday. And actually it'll be Thursday when she graduates. And we have 2 more that just started training last week. And we currently, as Chris had mentioned, we had hired 2 additional dispatchers. Both of them used to be drivers. So one is a rehire and one is a promotion. And we have still short 2 dispatchers, but we think at least 1, if not 2, should be starting on the 31st, as well as 4 additional drivers. So we're plugging away. And other than that, it's just business as usual, just trying to get everyone picked up safely and as on time as possible.
Sounds good, thank you. Got a couple messages. So I think this was Jessica, who might have her name. She says that she has no update. And then we've got Dawn Hook from Tazewell County. She says, don't have anything at this time. New to the group. Thank you for having me. Look forward to learning more about transportation activities around the area. I'll also be encouraging our Tazewell County board members to attend these meetings. All right. We appreciate that. Okay, so let's move on to Melissa Orwell from INOP. Do you have anything to share?
Not much new. We're still waiting on the vendor contracts to be finalized. So we're hoping to have vehicle award announcements next month. That's all I have.
How about Dawn? And you have anything to share?
I don't have any announcements at this time, but I do appreciate you allowing me to join the group, and I look forward to learning about everything that you guys have to offer.
Appreciate it. 3 Dawns. We heard from Don Cook from Tazewell County. So how about Tracy Dowell from MSW Projects?
Hi, this is Tracy. So last month last time we had our meeting, I was talking about how we were also experiencing the driver shortage. We were 3 drivers short. I hope that we have 2 that are in the hiring process, and I think that they're gonna come out okay. So we'll still have 1 opening. So that's good because it was much harder this time to find people. We did not have as many people apply, so that makes it kind of difficult. We have continued to be really busy going to different places because one of the medical facilities closed by us. One of the things that we, with all of our statistics and stuff, is for Stark County, they always, #1 reason they needed transportation was for medical reasons. This is the first year that going to get groceries was the #1 reason that they needed transportation. And it wasn't like they just edged out medical. It was quite a bit. In Little Stark County, there are no grocery stores. There's a Dollar General in a couple of the communities, but from talking with some of our board members, some of the Dollar Generals and Casey's are closing because they don't have staff either. So, and their Dollar General doesn't have fresh produce and stuff either. So it's kind of, seeing the trend of how our transportation is needed in another way as well. Not that we didn't take people for groceries before, but it's becoming more and more important for people in Stark County. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So kind of like everybody else, we just keep plugging along.
That's interesting with that shift. All right, so we've got just a couple more folks. Dave Looters, do you have anything to share here? Shows that your audio might be disconnected. Oh, there we go. No updates from Marshall County. All right. And last one here is Shelley Entrican from FCRT.
I don't have any new updates. Just want to say congratulations, Rima, on your recent award.
Oh, yes. You gave it away. Yes, I did. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we made it through everyone. And let me see what's next on my list. All right. So next is me, HSTP coordinator report. So I will start with, I've got several different points, and actually some folks already said some, so that's great. So just an update from Frank County, we are doing an active transportation plan. I guess you want to just talk a little about what it is and what
Yeah, so like Tri-County is working on an active transportation plan, which is basically a plan that seeks to evaluate the current transportation system and make it more inclusive to pedestrian and transit users. So October 26th, we'll be having an open house at the Lincoln Branch Library. We'll have a series of workshops, all geared to like understanding how people currently use the system, needs that they have, and like some changes that they would like to see in the system. So if you're free, come on down.
See hours?
4 to 6. So like if you're free, come on down, spread the word, bring your friends. So,
Will you be listing that in the?
I will send it. Yes. So that is geared towards really the Tri-County area, Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford. But if you feel like going from anywhere else, that is on you. Yes. So we also, at the same time, the state, so IDOT is doing their own active transportation plan. And they just have kind of a broader reach. So that can be for anybody here. I will send a link. They have some online engagement tools. They have a map where you can zoom all the way into an intersection and say, this one is not safe. I put 1 or 2 comments around here. So I'll send that out. I thought that was interesting. So even though statewide, they're still asking for specific data. Same concept, walking, biking, and transactions. Let's see. So yes, update from some conferences and meetings that I've attended. I think a couple people mentioned the CBP, Consolidated Vehicle Procurement Program. So IDOT is hopefully going to announce those awards soon from the last iteration. And they're still working through that, the bid process and building the vehicles. So there's progress there. And I think we talked about this right before the meeting started, but IDOT is doing a medical transportation study, non-emergency medical transportation study. So we've had some comments today, but if you want to specifically reach out to them, I can put some more information in the follow-up email. They just want to understand things like reliability, availability, things like that. And another thing I found from a conference I'll share, I just thought it was an interesting concept. So I went to, what was it, the Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association conference. And they gave a presentation. It's from the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, and that's based in Chicago. So this wouldn't directly affect our region, but the ideas that they talked about do. So they have this process called Aging in a Changing Region, and they have something called the Age-Friendly Communities Collaborative. So what they do is they collaborate with this organization called Planning/Aging. And there actually is one guy, but he has his own consultancy, basically, and he connects with different jurisdictions around Chicago. So they actually apply to be part of this program. And again, we can't do it, but this is just an interesting concept. So then different agencies, different jurisdictions apply. They say we want an age-friendly workshop to come. And so this person, Brad, his name's in here, but his name's Brad, he would go to different cities and create a workshop about how to create a community that is friendly to older adults. And they explore what that means in different ways. And then at the end, they create a document. So you can click on any one of these. I can send this link afterwards too. That is specialized to each community. So this one, strategic guide. So they can use this in future plans, potentially even in funding opportunities. And I won't go through all of this, but they talk about recommendations for different sectors. So like communication, coordination, collaboration, and different ones have different things. So there was one I clicked on earlier that was they wanted to build a specific senior center. So that was within their goals. But things like, better incorporate the faith community. There was something in a different one. Oh, here they talk about housing plans. Transportation is in here too. So it's kind of a exploration of what that specific community could do. and they use the phrase aging in community. Now, I know I had heard age in place. Maybe that's something you've heard too.
Yeah.
That's something to help.
Heard.
Yeah, help folks stay where they are. If they want to stay in their home, help them stay in their home, or whatever they choose to do. And this is kind of a broader idea of like, we can have them stay where they are in their home, but how can the community support it? So things like programming, transportation, recreation, all sorts of things. So this can be some rating if you have time. They are all slightly different, but I like the idea a lot of what they're doing. So we can take what they've already done and potentially use it here.
I think Springfield is starting that project because AARP is involved in it. We've done things up in the Chicago area. There's a couple of other downstate ones.
Oh, okay.
I personally am not involved in that, so I don't say very much about it, but it's excellent. And I'd like to see Peoria get involved, or Peoria County.
Right.
Because it's more than just transportation, as you said. Keep your residents here.
Yeah, I just want to share this. This was the most, it was a very engaging presentation at the conference, so they did a good job. And everything they talked about was pretty interesting. So I'll send this link if you want to explore. There's several different reports. I mentioned that I am in the process of finalizing HSTP appointments. So there's some folks that are new on committee, and there's some folks that will be new, depending on shuffling some positions around. So that's coming next month. And let's see, if I went to your agency for several months ago, I'm going to give an update about that. So I'll be in contact with all those folks. That's a long time coming, so I'd like to close that loop. And that's on me. And the last thing I'll end with is I just kind of an anecdote, but I just got back from a trip to the Grand Canyon. And there were a whole lot of accessible trails and different elements that anybody can enjoy. So I like looking for things. They had a tactile map of the canyon. So, and we flew out of Las Vegas and they had taxis with ramps. So I don't know if we even have that. We of course have our public transit, but I don't think we have accessible taxis. So, and that is all I have for my report. Is there any questions or further comments?
I had one question for Jim. I have a couple people in Washington right now that are looking for jobs. How far out do you only do transportation in the Washington area?
Are they in the city of Washington,
They're in
their addresses? Of course, the transportation, we have the disability transportation. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
We can pick people up. They send an application to the Washington Township. It's online. I can get you a copy as well. They fill out that application. Doctor signs off, says what is their disability, so we qualify them. And then the transportation is Monday through Friday, like 8 to 6, 8 to 5:30, I think. All right, and I can send you those details as well. But they can get around anywhere in the city of Washington, okay, for $2. And if they want to go to East Peoria or Peoria for services, it's $6. That's one way.
Thank you.
And I've got your information, I think, and I can send you those Okay.
Thank you.
Do paratransit rollover days or miles actually work between Peoria and Washington? For example, I live in Peoria. The last place City Lift can drop me off is the Casey's on by the Faith Lutheran Church. So can I connect to the Washington Township services because I'm qualified to ride City Lift?
Well, right now we have it set up as very exclusive for Washington residents because that's a different program.
All right, I just wondered, you know, how it's.
Hopefully in the future we can do something like that, but yeah.
Well, you know, I get asked to go to churches to participate in things, and they're only a few blocks away, but I have to find someone else to meet me at Casey's. And churches do not like to open early, so thank you for listening.
Sure.
We've got a couple quick comments from Angel and then I'll get to you here. She said, she clarified, it's $2 for all in Washington. And to leave Washington, it must be education, employment, or medical. All right, Jerry, go ahead.
So for that IDOT study on them examining like transportation and then your anecdote, what'd you call it? Anecdote on how taxis have disability transportation with them. Is that like something that they can do here? Like, is that something you can tell them? Or within the Tri-County area, just to be like, hey, I've seen this, we're getting funding, or like, we're trying to approve funding, can we like invest into that? And then I have a weird side note. This isn't like pertaining to the meeting, but just my own personal like thought. It was for that resident, like helping them stay here and like be here to use the transportation system. Like that seems pretty broad when it comes to like wanting people to stay here and like helping them live. So wouldn't they go to assisted living, or isn't there a POA involved, or isn't there somebody that like can actually help them with transportation services other than like rural or urban area services to help them? Like I figured there's more like variables in a study than not. So I don't know exactly. I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around this just because it's very broad and vague and I don't understand it too much.
Yeah, so you're talking about the thing that I showed on the computer, the aging and community.
Yeah, kind of just hitting on a lot of things. I'm just sitting back listening and I don't know, these are just stuff that comes to my head. I don't know like how this is being done.
Right. So when I think of the connection, where would people live? Should they go to a system? The idea, at least the idea of the community is that you should be able to choose. So people want to go there.
So how does that correlate with transportation?
So that would mean theoretically that if someone really wanted to stay in their house, they should have enough transportation options that they could reasonably stay in their house and get dropped off wherever they. That's the way that I see it.
And that's used through City Link or Lyft or any?
Yeah, it would be city lift or county lift. They live in the city, out of the city, or depending on the region. So in Galesburg, they have their own.
We're fixed in Paris.
So that's just a fixed route, essentially, like a fixed, like.
We have an actual fixed route bus system, and then we also offer paratransit services for those that cannot utilize the fixed route system. So we try to work with people.
Can you go between cities or counties to do that? Because you said something from Peoria to Galesburg, and that's like miles away. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around.
So what we offer right now is we are offering a program in which, since we had a hospital close and a lot of the hospital services are now being directed to Peoria,
right,
we are offering medical transportation on certain days a week to Peoria and back for our individuals that live in Galesburg.
So are you getting funded more money for that? So you can help?
We are working with the Western Illinois Area on Aging, and they're helping fund that.
And as far as the taxi services go, I was in the industry for 13 years. They kind of do a rough estimate of needs. It's very unsettling to hear, but it's the truth. It's basically up to the cab service if they want to do that. And then they would have to buy a special vehicle to accommodate people in wheelchairs, things like that. If they choose not to, they don't have to. But there's no like real funding for cab agents, cab services. And if there is, then I would suggest they look into that. But when I was in the industry, there were really no options unless we saw a greater need. And unfortunately, with the gas prices, the rates to even get into the taxi is going up. We at Express tried to do a contract with one of the local cab companies at a discounted rate to try and help people get to and from work on the odd shifts that we have an issue with. And now it's not even a discount. I mean, their discount isn't a discount. It's no fault of their own because of gas prices, but.
So I was like, how are we supposed to even make headway when there's like realistically, like real life, realistically, like not possible, and not in like a not optimistic way. Just
I guess
just don't
people
understand
think
that.
that City Lift has the accommodations to handle people with disabilities with the ramps and things like that that help with the wheelchairs. Whereas, and it's a lot cheaper than to call a cat taxi. It just doesn't make sense to purchase that kind of a vehicle when you may only use it twice in a week. You know what I mean?
And on the same end of that, when you're dealing with a fixed route and a paratransit, your fixed route is on a scheduled time frame. So we found we have a few clients that have really wanted to use the fixed route service, but the problem is when we try to use them to get them on the lift for the fixed route service, they're taking anywhere from like 9 to 15 minutes to try to load, which isn't fair to your regular fixed route riders that are using that are depending on that to possibly get to work. So that's why we try to steer them towards the paratransit side so that we can offer them one-on-one service and get them to their destination.
Right, so that makes sense. So that's like a fix in that flaw. I was just like confused on, besides your service, that's awesome. Like, so kudos to you. And then like you have experience in taxis and stuff. Like those are ideas and ideals that we would want for like the community, but like I just don't ever see them happening. Which you're giving off like that essence of like, yeah, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. So I don't know how like
I
within
think
a
if there is funding for taxi services to utilize that funding to purchase vehicles specifically for that, because I do understand that if somebody with a disability needs a service after, the hours that are available, there's the ambulance. That's the option, right? Well, that's how expensive, right? So if a taxi service who does, or essentially is supposed to run 24 hours a day, were to, it just economically, I don't know if it would make sense to that cab company unless they had the funding. So if there is funding for them to purchase a vehicle that could accommodate people with disabilities, I could see them potentially looking into that.
I'm surprised.
Or unless they're personally affected by it. So if
Yes.
they have a family member that is having that issue, the chances of them purchasing a cab that with accessibility features is probably going to be greater than if they don't have a family member. Because
It's conversations like this that actually kind of give you that grassroots approach to what can be done in the future. For instance, there are entities that are doing microtransit with minivans that have lifts on them. So as we trade down, potentially, I know from the city standpoint, when we've sold vehicles in the past, there are city vehicles like our old squad cars or something like that. There are cab companies that buy those old squad cars. So why not offer those minivans as we sell those off to the cab companies for sale also, who could revitalize them and actually use them on their cab company route, and then there would be a service for them.
And that's smart right there. That's why I was really,
That's a great idea, actually.
like, yeah, and being in 2023, like, why isn't there like 24/7 medical, like specifically medical, which should
Capitalism,
be covered?
money.
There's also the liability aspect. I'm sure that if somebody would have to physically help somebody get into the vehicle and something happens, that's a huge liability.
So then can the Tri-County reach out to AMT or any other medical services that have qualified people to do that within a 24-hour shift to help handicap or paratransit people to do that? That's what I'm confused on. Like, it seems like I'm saying something unrealistic because of capitalism and money, but that's just like the only answer I can see.
I mean, I'm gonna say just because we're coming up on time, if you guys want to stay after it, great. This is a wonderful conversation. But that's the idea of that is what hopefully try to do with this.
Essentially, I agree with you. I would love to
There
see
are
that.
big problems and we can't solve them all quickly, but we might be able to solve them in bites. So I'm just gonna get through the rest of this agenda.
Yeah.
And if you want to stay, definitely. That goes for anybody.
But
All
isn't
right.
that what Johnny Simmons does, is take people to work and stuff like that? Isn't that what his whole business title is? Because I had talked to him the other day, and he said that he's running a bus to Rivian and stuff like that now. So that might be somebody you guys might want to reach out to, of getting people.
I thought I reached out to him.
I talked to him the other
Who
day.
was that?
Johnny
He
Simmons.
wasn't able
Is
to
that his last name?
accommodate the shift.
I might have an old email for him, but he's always been on.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day, and he said that he's running buses and picking people up for employment.
Is it at a reasonable rate?
I didn't ask him the price,
Yeah.
so I'm not for sure.
Because I think when I called him to get somebody from the county side of the South End just to the Peoria Civic Center, it was like $20.
Oh, really?
And I was like,
Yeah, I'm not, because I know he has, he said he's going
I need affordable.
Right.
Affordable transportation.
We got one more comment from Chris.
And I do know we're at the point of having to adjourn, but Methodist twice between April and July used a wheelchair ambulance to get me home in the middle of the night. They said they had a grant. I don't know yet because I've not seen a bill, but I do know that my equipment was damaged. The axle to my push cart, which I bring to many other meetings, was damaged. And it's because the staff assumes a lot. And when I insisted on talking to the dispatcher, I surprised everyone because I didn't want to be stranded with my equipment and not being able to get home. And I rode taxis from 1985 to 2011. And and before that in other cities, I used taxis as well because I did not believe I was eligible for City Lift. And so they are a community. And I certainly can tell hard things, but I can also tell very heartwarming things. I haven't met anyone else that took a rocking chair home from Kmart because the taxi driver said he could do it. I can't use a taxi the same way anymore because I can't get in the back seat. And there's a lot of laws and there's a lot of homelessness among the taxi drivers because they live in their vehicle. And so we need to ask them to join us and be compassionate if they have the courage to do that. Anyway, I'm grateful.
No, I appreciate it. I think that's a good way to officially end the meeting.
Oh, I do have one question. I hope
Last one. This is great. I just want to make sure we're on time.
I know. This is for all of you. It occurred to me, are you limited to why the people have to go somewhere? Because I was wondering, like, has anybody ever asked to take you to their polling place for on election day? And of course, now with the vote by mail, it's probably decreased. But has that ever happened? It just occurred to me.
I have taken City Lift, and so have others, to the Ignite Church. And it's a very noisy place, and and you can wait a while. And some voters don't like it very well because you just seem to be hanging out without an authorization. But, you know, it's just how it is, and you have to plan that kind of time.
For Galesburg on the
Generally,
paratransit side.
Generally, it's they don't use your services for that particular thing.
For Galesburg, you can, if you qualify for paratransit. It's for us, it's the going out of town that becomes the issue because of the fact that we don't have the equipment and we don't have the staff.
Thank you.
I'm gonna, like I said, I will officially adjourn the meeting. It's totally up to you. If you want to stay, I will remain here physically. All right, so I will get a, can I have a motion and a second?
I'll move.
I'll second.
And I heard Kylie. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
How long did it take you guys to get your eye dots off? To get them disposed of, your vehicle?